Hello there, people of the internet. I like talking to the elderly people, if you guys catch my drift, who can't even get around Walmart without riding around on a scooter, who seem to be firmly under the impression that a bolt-action rifle like this right here will be able to stand up to an automatic platform like this right here in an urban combat environment. So, a lot of times whenever I talk about things like this and I talk about these videos, I always get a lot of pros for why these old school military surplus bolt-action rifles would still be a good, viable option in a modern day situation in comparison to something like this. I have not experienced a modern combat situation like that, but I can go ahead and say that anyone who vouches for the old military surplus rifles being used in choice of, instead of, something like this right here, are probably people that have also not been in a modern combat situation. Now, whenever it comes to these elderly gentlemen, a lot of them have been in combat situations where the enemy has had bolt-action rifles. Well, back during that time period, those were a viable option. However, nowadays, my God, technology has changed, and the implementation of said technology on particular battlefields has changed. And there are definitely some pros to bolt actions, especially old Milsurp rifles, but man, they just are dramatically outweighed by an automatic platform. Now, there are some people out there who will tell me, 223, 556, not as powerful as some Milsurps, but whenever it comes to automatic platforms, I'm talking about like everything. You want a full power battle rifle, go for it. If you want a 7.62 NATO rifle or a 30-06 rifle or an 8mm Mauser rifle or whatever it is that you want, just something that sends more lead downrange in a faster motion, like that is absolutely 110% the way to go, especially if it is something that is more of a modern design, meaning it has rail systems and flashlights and optics and all of the goodies that you would want in some sort of modern situation. And that's just not something that you can get on these old school Milsurp rifles without some significant modifications. If you, I'm not telling you to do this by any stretch of the imagination, but if you have something like a G43 semi-auto 10-shot 8mm Mauser rifle, and you have an updated gas system inside of it, and it's been bubbaed and sporterized to be much more, what's the word I'm looking for here? Versatile? That's kind of ish the word I'm looking for, but you have a firearm that is much more modular. You have all of the modern features attached to this rifle, but you have the full power rifle capabilities as well. That would definitely be a very, very good way to go. But I'm not talking about something like that. I'm talking about people who talk about these old school bolt actions like they are still viable on the places of the battlefield. Yes, you can send a round or two downrange, and yes, if you have a whole bunch of people, then that would definitely be a force to be reckoned with. But if we're comparing apples to apples, and you got a bunch of dudes with bolt action versus an equal amount of dudes with AR platforms, then unless those AR platforms are 223, 556, and you're 1,000 yards away, which 223, 556 is not necessarily all that effective, at that 1,000 yards, then those bolt actions may potentially have an advantage. However, with those iron sights, not really, especially if the AR platforms are rocking some sort of modern LPVO system or some sort of long-range optic. So there's definitely some pros and cons with that. Back whenever these rifles were being made and instituted, this technology just was not common enough for the average person. So a dramatic amount of these old school Milsurps still just have their iron sight capabilities. I definitely like when people try to argue for these things, because it can get the job done. I will say that you can send lead downrange, but my God, with something like this, just with the dot capabilities and the backup iron sights and the ability to light lights and the amount of capacity you have inside of your magazine and your speed of reload, check it out. This right here for reloading, mag in, press this button on the side, there can be a very fast system to be able to get back up on target and just have more rounds downrange. And for something like this, whenever you're reloading, if you pull your mag out to top off your magazine, you still have a round in the chamber, so you still have a capability of defending yourself in the event that you have to. In order to top off something like a Milsurp Mauser, you have to open the bolt, eject a round, top off the magazine without a round in the chamber because your bolt is currently open. You have no means of defense while you're reloading that. With something like this right here, you can get rounds downrange very, very rapidly, very accurately, depending on your setup. And the fast follow-up shots, it's just, if you have yourself a low-power rifle, an intermediate caliber rifle like the AR platform, that is just such a good way to go. As opposed to something like a Mauser, yes, it can happen, yes, you can do it. I always get the people who go into the comments and say, like, yes, you can, you absolutely can. Well, if you need a scooter to get around Walmart, you probably can't. But if you had somebody like Rambo with a Mauser going up against, I don't know, some plebeian with an AR platform thing, I'd have to give it to Rambo. He definitely has the plot armor for it. But the average Joe going against the average Joe, I would take the AR over the bolt action every day of the week. Whenever you have this right here, you do have a more powerful round. I will acknowledge that. However, since I just fired a round, pulling the trigger again won't do anything because the round is still inside of that chamber. You have to manually cycle this thing every single time that you want to pull that trigger and send another round downrange. And you only have 5 rounds inside of your magazine. If you get yourself like a trench mag or something like that, then I could understand that. There are ways to get this system to be better than what it is, but if you're going with a standard 5-shot Milsurp bolt action, nah, dude, just don't. Now there are better options than this right here. This right here is an 8mm Mauser variant. I do have people that tell me 8mm Mauser, like super penetrating, super armor piercing ammunition will go through level 4 body armor. And to those people who are bragging about things like that, I'm like, yeah, if you manage to find some of that super armor penetrating ammunition, then yeah, it could pierce body armor. But an overwhelmingly dramatic amount of the ammunition, 8mm Mauser ammo that you're going to find on the market, is going to be lead core ammo, or maybe steel core ammo if you are lucky. And it doesn't matter, honestly. Because a dramatically vast amount of people that you're going to be dealing with if you're inside of some sort of situation are probably not going to have level 4 body armor. And if they do have level 4 body armor, they're not people that you want to go up against with the bolt action rifle. Like, these are things that these guys aren't thinking about. Whenever you shoot downrange at that one guy with his level 4 body armor, if you happen to have that armor piercing ammunition and you take that guy down, guess what? If that guy has level 4 body armor, odds are he's got the equipment and resupply and allies that are armed with modern stuff, which is what level 4 body armor is, and the amount of fire that's going to come back at you is going to be overwhelming. So yeah, if you have the right stuff, if you have the right stuff, then the 8mm Mauser could potentially serve its purpose. But like I said, a dramatic amount, a vast majority of what you're going to be dealing with in some sort of situation is probably going to be people who are looking for opportunities in chaos, people who are, not preppers, not prepared for whatever situation it is that might arise. Things that we have seen within, 2020 and 2021, all of the panic and burning and riots and all of the nonsense that has gone on. Those people, a dramatic amount of them, weren't wearing level 4 body armor. They were just there amidst the chaos, and that is what you're going to see in these situations. So yeah, the ability to pierce level 4 body armor isn't necessarily something that appeals to me unless you have yourself a platform that would be able to deal with the situations that are actually going to be there. Like in a realistic, we have seen before situation, you're going to have crowds of people burning down cities, and having something like this right here, whenever you have a crowd coming at you and they're 10 feet away, is going to be much more effective than having something like this right here. Now, like I said, there are better options than that right there. if you still want to go the Milsurp bolt-action rifle way, I will acknowledge that not all bolt-action rifles, not all bolt-action rifle decisions are going to be the same. For example, I have right here an Ishapur 2A1 in 7.62 NATO. The magazine on this one is a little on the messed up side, so I do apologize if that causes any malfunctions. But if you get one of these that is functioning properly, since this is chambered in 7.62 NATO, does not have rimmed cartridges, you don't have to worry about rim lock, and it takes standard stripper clips for 7.62 NATO. So you can just load this thing really quickly with those standard stripper clips because they're more of a Mauser style stripper clip, and it doesn't suck to load like the 303 stripper clips do. Or you can get yourself just a couple of external magazines, so you can pull the old mag out, you know, insert your new mag, get pretty fast at that, so you already have your mags loaded if you have the means and funds to be able to afford that. And this being a cock-on-closed system as opposed to a cock-on-open system, this can cycle incredibly fast. And you, well, for example, back during the conflicts between the Germans and the Brits, the Germans actually thought that the Brits were using self-loading rifles because these rifles here were able to cycle through ammunition that rapidly, and that is pretty incredible. So if you have some sort of system like this, chambered in, you know, a full powered, full capable round, but still has the ability to swap out mags very quickly and still has the ability to cycle very quickly, then I could absolutely see this right here being a much more viable platform than something like this right here. So I will go ahead and pay it its due diligence. Now, like I said, this one here, the magazine is a little on the messed up side, so it doesn't always work out all that well. Just making sure I actually chambered around properly there. Let me send a round downrange. Well, we hit our target. Yeet! There goes that one. Will this next round load? That is the big question. Ah, we actually loaded from the magazine. Alright. Yeet! Okay, wow, those two rounds landed right next to each other. I'm gonna go grab that brass because it's reloadable. But what do you guys think? I know I have a lot of fellow gun content creators out there, and they run into the same problem. They get a bunch of people who can't even walk down the street without a cane, who talk about how they would be willing to go into World War III with something like this, and they don't have the means to even move around properly, and they can't go a full day without special dietary pills and whatnot. Just people like that who assume that things like this are still not only viable, but, well, I guess they are viable, some options more viable than not, but how they think that these are superior to some of the modern platforms. It really is just mind-boggling. It really is mind-boggling. Now, there are better platforms than something like this, but still not as good off as something like this. Like if we were to break out an SKS, semi-auto 7.62x39, very capable rifle, 10-round, like I said, automatic feeding system, that right there would definitely be a pretty good platform if we were to compare Milsurps to modern rifles, and it would definitely be way more capable than some of these old school Milsurp bolt actions. But still, because of its lack of ability to mount optics and its weight and its lack of parts interchangeability, and it's just, there's so many variations between different countries and different origins of SKSs, and there's a lot of pros, but there's a lot of cons, and you would still definitely be better off with something like this. Just the fact that you can mount a red dot on something like this automatically makes this a dramatic force multiplier. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go and go check that out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. It's hot, I'm thirsty. I'm gonna go relax in the air conditioning for a while, and I'll see y'all in the next episode.
while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.